program will begin shortly. Launch sequence. Activate. Warning, the following content is not politically correct. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back to the channel today, everyone. I am Sarah Higdon. This is Transform to Freedom. Got a lot of crazy stuff happening this week. So we're spanning the whole week this time. It's usually kind of the last few days of what's going on, but today we got quite a bit that happened all week. And I've always said I could probably do a show multiple times a week. Maybe we'll add that. There are some plans in the works to do something more collaborative with some other people, but nothing's completely finalized right now. A lot of people's schedules need to be shored up first. But before we kind of get into the craziness of everything that's been going on, we do have some good news that we're going to lead off with. So we're going to lead off with let's do this. Okay. So the South Carolina legislature passed a bill which does multiple things, actually. But the biggest thing that it does, it prohibits sex changes for minors. It went to the governor's desk. He's expected to sign it. So that's a good news, but it does more than just prohibit minors from receiving puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones and surgeries. It also requires schools and any staff facility. It prohibits them from keeping secrets from parents. So if a child is wanting to go by a different name, or if they disclose that they, are having an incongruence with their biological sex, then it requires the school to then tell the parents so that they can decide what's the next best step going forward. I am not an advocate of schools being able to keep secrets. I've done a lot of, I've done some deep dives into this before. That alone, keeping secrets with children and keeping them from parents is, it ticks off 3 of the 5 steps of grooming, right? So that's you're in a position of authority around children, and then you build trust with a child, and then you keep secrets, and then the next step is actually turning it more into a sexual thing, whereas now you have blackmail over that child. So if a child confides in you that they're having incongruence with their sex and you're keeping that secret, they have now blackmail over you, because they could say, well, if you don't do this, then I'm going to tell your parents about this. So it's never a good situation when anybody's trying to keep secrets from parents. I always say that if there is something else, if a child is actually in danger with their parents, that you are already required by law to go to the authorities, and there's other steps you need to take if you do believe that child is actually in danger. So there's no reason to keep those secrets. And so this is a good bill. Governor McMaster has indicated in January that he thought that this was a good bill. What did he say? Before I kind of get into that, House Bill 4624, it is advertisements. It does actually, so it lays out multiple exemptions. So one of the exemptions is obviously for children with precocious puberty. They go into puberty way too early. It's not prescribed for gender affirming. It's not prescribed for gender questioning children, or under, for gender transition. It's prescribed because it's been deemed dangerous for a 6-year-old to start going through puberty, and that's where all the studies are from that show that this is that they are, you know, at that age there is no irreversible harm that's being done because that's not the age that a child should be going through puberty. Hey James, welcome in. Good to see you. Also, let me see. It also prevented some, what was it? It prevents the state's Medicare program from paying for minor transitions, but that seems like a given to me. It almost seems redundant because if your state bans it, you wouldn't be asking the state Medicare program or Medicare and Medicaid programs to pay for it if you go out of state. So it seems like you would just be admitting to breaking the law. So again, it seems a little bit redundant, but it does prevent that. Where is the governor? Okay, so in January, the governor had said the bill was a good idea to keep young people safe and healthy. If they want to make those decisions later when they're adults, that's a different story, but we must prevent our young people from making irreversible errors. And I completely agree. I'm actually appreciative that he said that. He showed that his intent is not to prevent capable adults from making these decisions for themselves. We have bodily autonomy and we can consent to any procedures as an adult. Welcome in. Thank you, Misha. Thank you for joining while we're live tonight. But so good news there. But I think that might be, well, that's not where the good news ends tonight. But you might think so with these first few. We're doing Transanity at the beginning of the episode tonight because there is so much shit that needs to stop. So let's just get into one of the most ridiculous things I think I've seen all week. Let's go. Now, if you haven't seen this video, obviously it's gotten 2.7 million views from libs of TikTok. This person decided to go to Disney World dressed up like a child to film content about having surgery. Let's listen.
I'm going to get banned from Disney. I swear, we're about to get banned from Disney. Last summer, I got my cake pops removed, and the plan up until recently was to get my marshmallow wand reconfigured into a marshmallow tunnel. Unfortunately, a few weeks ago, I noticed some hair regrowth on my marshmallow wand. That's bad because the outside of the wand is what becomes the inside of the tunnel. So you don't want hair growing there, or else it's very uncomfortable. So I talked to my surgeon and he said that it would be best to postpone the procedure until after hair removal is complete. This is obviously disappointing because I was really excited to have a marshmallow tunnel sooner. That being said, it is still happening. We're just not sure when it's happening. Hair removal is a fickle thing and it's really hard to predict when it will finish. But my hair removal technician thinks it will be before the end of the year. So, fingers crossed. Oh, go. Want some? My mom's here, by the way. The marshmallow tunnel.
I didn't see that part. Excuse me, what? Bro. Like, oh my God. First off, what? Like, there are some things you probably don't need to be just telling the internet in general. Probably just need to keep most of that to yourself. 2, who is this video for? Listen, you're dressed like a child. You're at Disney World. you're describing the penis as a marshmallow wand and talking about how you're going to repurpose it, I guess, is what I'll say. And not and really whatever, like that's just more information. Like your target audience is children. This is groomer behavior. You're trying to educate children into what is happening, and you're trying to make it cute. It's not cute. It's not. It's not at all. That is way too much information that nobody really needs to know, unless somebody asks you, like, that you know personally in real life, and they're like, hey, I thought you were getting surgery, and then you maybe explain some of that. But like, boundaries. And then that lost me at the end. Your mother's there, and you're just describing the surgery, describing your testicles as cake pops and your penis as a marshmallow wand. Like, what the fuck? This is what is ruining people like this. Need to be, I don't believe in banning people from the internet, but people like this need to be banished from like society. Like, and people would say that about me, but honestly, this is the type of person that's like ruining the acceptance rate for normal trans people. Everything about this video is deeply disturbing. Yeah, I'm sorry, Mishka, who says I'm never going to look at a cake pop the same again. Yeah. If I had to see it, so do you. Oh, these people, I'm telling you, I don't. Okay, I'm done with this. This is that's the other thing, Dana. You're absolutely right. Dana says the fact that there were possibly kids within earshot. There were. You can hear them. You can hear them. What are you doing? Like, at the beginning of the video, this person says, "I'm going to get banned from Disney World." If you think you're going to get banned from Disney World, don't you think maybe you shouldn't discuss the topic that you're discussing? Well, dress like a child, using cake pops and marshmallow wands as examples, because you're too immature. See, this is the thing. You're too immature to use the proper terms. You're too immature to talk about these things because you know that your audience isn't mature. You know that your audience is children, so they don't necessarily need. You're not gonna talk to children. You're not talking to adults. If you're talking to adults, you're gonna say testicle and penis. I just said it on YouTube. It's okay. Well, it might not be okay, but we'll be okay. Come on. Like, this should be seen as like, this is grooming behavior. Make this make sense. I don't see how anybody would think in their right mind that this was okay. The internet has ruined a lot of people. This person is clearly one of them. And I'm not even going to discuss what they were talking about. I'm just not, because that's a whole different topic. But Jesus Christ. Oh. That was probably the worst of what we got tonight, okay? I wanted to lead with the worst. Because the rest of it is actually just more societal based. So look. In Vancouver, there was a man who attacked a woman who was breastfeeding. So it kind of went that this woman was breastfeeding in her vehicle. I guess her husband was in the car. This person gets into the backseat of her car and assaults her. This is why we need clear language. There's a reason I wrote this and wrote male suspect. Because in so many of the news reports, it's unclear whether this is a male or a female that committed this crime. In the police report, they referred to this person as she. But one of the police officers called this person a man. So which was it? Well, I think it's pretty clear from this picture of this person being arrested without their shirt on that this is just a man who is not right and is utilizing the self-ID laws in Canada to gain access to females in females' prisons. We'll just kind of go through this. Like, actually, let me pull this up. So, Amy Ham, if you don't know, she's going through the whole ordeal in Canada because of their weird hate speech laws, and she put up the billboard that said I heart J.K. Rowling, and then she's going through a tribunal. She's been going on for like 2 years now, and but go support her in that, because nobody should lose their job for standing up for their beliefs and their free speech rights, and especially lose their nursing certification, I think is what's going on, because she stood up for her. She executed, free speech. She points out, though, so the police officer, I don't know what the police is in there. So Tania Vincent, in her statement, she said the victim and witnesses say the suspect was reaching and grabbing at the mother and baby. The mother, a woman in her 30s from Vancouver, screamed, held onto the baby, and attempted to fight off the man. However, later on in this news article, it says the 26-year-old suspect has been since charged with assault. Police say she remains in custody until the next court appearance. When you go and look at the police report, it says she, but the person's name is, what is it? Nathaniel Francis Beekmeyer was arrested for this crime. So it's a male. And I think Amy's right. Like, it's deplorable that she said it's deplorable that this crime will be recorded as having been committed by a female, not our crime. So here's the biggest issue with a lot of the self-ID in this is our crime stats are now not accurate. You can't look at like how many crimes females commit compared to how many crimes males commit compared to how many crimes trans people commit, because everything is based in male and female, and trans people are now, covered under female instead of males. And so there's no way to even go in anymore and be like, okay, and this is something that trans people need to understand, is we need to show there needs to be some evidence to show that trans people are less likely to commit crimes than than males in general. Right now that data doesn't exist. When I looked at the data, and I'll explain this. When I looked at the data about 2 years ago, we knew how many trans people were in prison. We knew we knew how many they were in prison. We knew the population. So I looked at the population size, and it was something like 0.009% of men who identified as men were in prison. So 0.009% of the entire population were in prison. Something like 0.003% of women, of females, were in prison. Yeah, so like 0.003% of the entire population were in prison. Whereas it was something like 0.005% of trans people were in prison of the total population of trans people. So there used to be data to show that trans people were probably less likely to commit crimes than other biological men. We don't know those stats anymore. They just don't keep them. I wish we knew those stats so we could actually have an accurate fact-based conversation about what we can do to safeguard women, on top of, that doesn't necessarily negate, trans people existing in society, right? In a fair, equitable way. But we can't have those conversations because we don't know the stats. I can't argue against somebody who says trans women are just as likely to commit crimes as men because I don't know the stats. Nobody does. There is no evidence to prove otherwise. So that makes it very difficult to argue, for or against certain things. But you're right, Tiffany, you're right. They don't want a fact-based discussion. But unfortunately, because they don't want that fact-based discussion, it means that the automatic assumption becomes trans women are just as likely to commit crimes as biological men. Like there's no difference. I would assume that number would be actually less of, and this is the other thing, is actual trans women, people who actually have gender dysphoria, have actually, transitioned. That's another factor that would have to go into this. Because one, without testosterone in the body, you would think that it actually makes you less aggressive, less. It does a lot to the system that makes you less aggressive. It kills your sex drive, all those types of things, right? On the flip side, so it would beg to reason that trans women would be less likely to commit crimes. Also, if you're a trans woman, and most trans people that I know are like very conscious about not committing crimes, even like small crimes, like speeding and stuff. Anytime that you could have an interaction with a police officer, possibly go to jail, like even DUI, stuff like that. Most people are very likely to not do those types of things because we know it's kind of up in the air what's going to happen in prison. You get in the situation where you get put into a men's jail. That's not going to turn out well. At the same time, it's not like, in a red state, if you're going to catch me slipping, it's not going to be a red state. But at the same time, I mean, I don't believe that they should put me in a female jail either. So I would, it's just up in the air. So any trans person, again, that's like going out and committing crimes, like you're playing with fire. You just don't know what's going to happen. So I would hope that knowing that would be a deterrent in and of itself. Again, because even like smaller stuff that you could go to jail for, like any interaction with a police officer, you just don't know what's going to happen. Like I thought about this recently, okay, because I went down to Emory University to cover the protest down there, right? And so I was going to do my job and actually cover a protest down at Emory University. I was concerned that they would not care, because we saw journalists and stuff getting arrested. So my concern was that they would not care that I was there as a journalist, not as a protester, and try to arrest me. And I'm thinking, where would they take me? Like, and I'm just there doing my job. That day that I went down there, though, there was nothing going on, so there was nothing really to cover. But still, if I had been there and I'm gearing up to do more on-site reporting stuff, this is a concern in my mind. Where would they take me, even as just a journalist? I don't know. It's like you just got to be careful, because if they think I'm a protester, because here's the other thing. It's like, why don't you notify yourself as a journalist and who you are as a journalist? Well, I'm not the most most popular person, but also people like Antifa and stuff have protested my events. They know my face. They know who I am. They know that the organization that I work for in the post millennial. So it's like there would be this factor where when I do go out, if I'm not like trying to blend in with the crowd, it could be a rough situation for me as well. So you get in a situation where it's like, if I tell the police at work I'm a journalist with the Post Millennial, then Antifa knows I'm there. But if I don't, then I get arrested and then I go to what jail? I don't know. For trying to cover my job. So these are the types of things I'm thinking about when I'm out there. But these types of stories, they don't help. And like I said, it was so difficult. I had to go completely down in the weeds on this thing to figure out, was this actually a male or was this a female? Because we've convoluted language so much that even like they give criminals more respect than anybody else. Like I've always kind of said, if you commit a crime, I don't owe you respect. Like if you're a criminal, I'm not going to, like, why am I going to respect your preferred pronouns or anything like that? That doesn't make any sense to me. Like if you're a good, decent person, of course, yeah. Well, I don't go along with like they, them. I don't do the nom. I mean, if you're trans-binary, I'm gonna say, then I'll go as far as to respect you there. So yeah. But they convolute language. But like, why would you give a criminal that same respect? Not me. Yeah, you're right. Mishka, is they are letting out criminals and pedophiles because they identify as trans, or they're putting them in lower security wards, stuff like that too. So Here we go. And lastly, on the whole trans sanity stuff. So actually, I guess there is a little bit more news on this. So after all the fallout last year, if you remember, this is kind of the Bud Light effect still kicking in, everything that happened last year. Target has decided to pull their Pride Month collection from over half of its stores following the backlash. If you know, so most people are like, it's not even June yet, why are you putting Pride Month stuff out? But it's usually because people want to buy their Pride merch to wear to Pride parades, and so you kind of got to start doing that in like April, May timeframe before June. But Target says the collection will be available on Target.com and in select stores based on historical sales performance. So yeah, if you remember, so this was a big thing last year. Like there was the whole like Alex Stein went in there and they had tuck friendly underwear or tuck friendly bathing suits. Now that was kind of misinformation that was put online, though, is that the tuck friendly stuff was in the kids section. It was not. It was actually only in the adult section. But if you remember, this time last year was when Bud Light was like the cancellation of Bud Light for partnering with Dylan Mulvaney had completely gone off the rails, and really started to affect all these other organizations. When I was on Timcast last year, we talked about Target, PetSmart, Kohl's, a bunch of other organizations that were really starting to see this type of thing happen. But it's never for me, it's never really been about the Pride merchandise that they sell. It's more so been the fact that a lot of their donations from this Pride merchandise go to organizations like GLSEN, GLSEN, and stuff like that, because those are the organizations that I fight against in state legislatures. When we're trying to pass bills in state legislatures, they are fighting to, keep parents in the dark, like this, going back to the South Carolina bill that we talked about earlier, talking about that. So we talk about that, but GLSEN is always there to their whole motivation is to transition children and to push this onto them and make more people queer, because again, you don't have to be LGBT to be queer. Queer is just can be a straight kid who's quirky, and so that's where a lot of that is being pushed. And so it's not necessarily the Pride themed merch that I have as much of an issue with, but it's where the money from that Pride theme merch goes and what it goes to support. And again, it supports the agenda that is more so pushing this onto children. So that's some good news as well. But we are going to move on. This is kind of a twofer, right? So Joe Biden this week. The irony here is astounding, to be quite honest. So, as we said, Joe Biden was roasted for saying women's sports matter to all Americans after he destroyed Title IX just last week. Puts out Title IX guidance, which actually harms female athletes and female opportunities. And then he has the gall to come out and say, where is this? To say, wait, says, as a nation, we need to support women's sports by showing up in person and watching on TV, and more sponsorships and programming, not just during championships, but all year round. Let's grow women's sports and continue inspiring the nation. And you can see my response was, bro, you just redefine what women's sports are and are trying to allow males to compete. You don't care about female athletes, which I think that's an apt way to put that. And the irony is astounding, right? It is astounding. You go in and you say males should be able to compete in female sports and take these scholarships and opportunities from females, thus destroying the very idea of female sports. And then you say we need to watch them more. Why would you watch mediocre males compete in sports when you can just watch men's sports? It doesn't make sense. So, yeah, I mean, and he got roasted online pretty bad, as you can imagine. I don't know what the ratio was for this, but I mean, it was pretty rough. And he's been very vocal about allowing males compete in female sports. So, here's the thing. Just remember, Joe Biden doesn't run his Twitter account. He doesn't know what he's saying. He doesn't know what his people are putting out on that Twitter account. He is there as a mouthpiece. It was his press secretary. What's her name? Karine Jean Pierre, KGP. She was caught writing from his account on accident before. So it's obvious that he doesn't run his own Twitter accounts. Yes, Karine Jean Pierre. Hey, I got it right. Thank you. So yeah, the irony there is a good one. Now going back to kind of what we talked about last week, and it's kind of been this theme on this show, right? How the left are very much they are the racist. Okay. They are the racists of low expectations. What was it last week? I don't remember, but then there was the Joe Biden saying that Joe Biden said in it was in the last election that poor kids are just as capable as white kids. That was a clip. He also said if you're not black, if you don't vote for him, you're not black. There's been quite a few gaffes, right? There's been quite a few of these statements, and then the whole the idea that the reason why voter ID laws are racist is because minorities can't make their way to the DMV to actually get a driver's license or an actual ID. He actually said something about black people not being able to use the internet. But this one might be one of the most racist things I've ever heard a politician actually say, and it's Governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, who, well, let's just play this clip.
Young black kids growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word computer is. They don't know. They don't know these things. And I want the world open up to all of them, because when you have their diverse voices innovating solutions through technology, then you're really addressing society's broader challenges.
I'm sorry. Do black kids in the Bronx really not know what the word computer is? Pretty sure they do. It's one of the most racist things I think I've ever heard is you actually believe that they are so worse off, that minorities are so worse off that they don't even know what a computer is, something that's been around and everybody knows what it is since like since the 80s, 90s. Whereas most kids, probably even in the Bronx, have an iPhone or an iPad, and every single computer in every single school in America trains on computers. So it seems to me, again, we go back to what we say. We've said this how many times on here, that leftists they believe that they're the elites, right? This goes back to critical race theory, where they believe that they believe so much that they're the oppressed, but they're also the saviors of minorities. They use minorities. They think that they own minorities. They still think, and when they say the parties switched, the parties never switched. The parties stayed the same, right? When we go back and we look at Joe Biden's, one of the authors of the 94 crime bill. He Kamala Harris even has put so many people in jail for a plant, and then she comes out and Tulsi Gabbard ruins her career because of it. Of course, didn't ruin her career, because then she was picked up for vice president. But they think that they need to enact equity, because they think that because people of skin color with different skin color than them have such a racial disadvantage. But it's really people like them who put other people in racial disadvantages. They think that they're not as smart as them, and it's just not true. You're right. What they keep saying the quiet parts out loud. They will tell you exactly what they think about these people, and when you really listen to what they say, you understand, like, they're not like the saviors. They don't have good intentions when it comes to minorities. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, it's in Portland. They decided to get rid of like testing standards, because they said that it was racially unequal. So they said, because they say that, like, because higher standards don't, like, because certain, like, minorities don't meet as high standards, like these different areas affect minorities worse. They think that is a reason to, instead of raise the standard, to cut the standard to meet the lowest level. But when you meet the lowest level, then I don't know, not saying it right. Like, the whole racial inequity is their whole platform, and it's not. Liz, yes, that's exactly what we're talking about. They don't understand how racist they are. You're absolutely right, and they are like it's not Freudian slips. It's, they know what they're saying, but they don't realize that how bad it sounds. And it's so funny, because it's coming from people who call everything else racist. But yet they're gonna lower. They're gonna do away with stuff because they say it's it's their claim that minorities can't live up to expectations, which I just don't believe. I think if you test people and you try people and you teach people, anybody can meet those standards. I don't. It's like they see it as a racial issue, where it's more of a socioeconomic issue than anything. So that's that. But now we're looking even more towards, we've talked a little bit on this channel. And now it's starting to come out more and more. Joe Biden is probably in trouble in this election. I mean, former President Trump drew a massive crowd in the heart of the blue state of New Jersey. Like, they were expecting like 40,000 people to show up. I mean, that is a crowd of nearly 80 to 100,000 people. And there was a meme that went around which was pretty funny. It was like a picture like of this, and it said, when President Trump goes to the beach, this is when President Trump goes to the beach, and then it showed Joe Biden at the beach, and it was just like him at the beach. It was kind of funny. Yeah, so ABC reported 100,000. We were getting numbers that was between 80 and 100. So yeah, it was massive. And so here's the thing is, Trump is going to the people and drawing these massive crowds with the people, but Biden has decided that he needs to, in order for him to win in these swing states, he needs more money. And so now he's going to schmooze with the Hollywood elite and try to raise money that way on these big fundraisers. Now, it is kind of ironic, isn't it, that the Democrat Party is supposed to be the party of the little guy, and the Republicans are supposed to be the party of big business and tax breaks, and the Democrats are the eat the rich type, when Trump's out there with everybody talking to the people. Biden is hanging out with the elites, the rich that he wants to eat, so to speak. It's really interesting. We're seeing it even in polling data. One of the biggest areas where Biden's having big issues, obviously, is with the young vote, with the handling of with the Israel Hamas situation, which we've talked about that here on this show, like what I think and where we're at there. But and it's not just me. It's really interesting. Like I said, we saw ABC. You see ABC reporting accurate numbers with this. Usually they're going to try to make it seem like it's a small number. But this was a big crowd. Now, here's one of the things about how big this crowd was. The local businesses that were there said just this crowd brought in the revenues of 4th of July weekend and Labor Day weekend. Like all combined, like all the big weekends that you have, like all at once. These are the numbers that the businesses. So this drew, not only did this draw just massive support for Trump, but now the businesses are like, oh my God, Trump comes here and we just made bank. It's a boost to their economy. So, I mean, that's not even like the half of it either. So you also have people like Bill Maher now. Now they're talking about these legal cases. There are multiple outlets that are saying with these legal cases, one, they're saying CNN even admitted that these legal cases actually help Trump. In the polling data, it actually helps Trump because it keeps his name out there and everything like that. And now even Bill Maher, which I will say that Bill Maher is typically one of the more reasonable people from the left on most issues. He kind of, there's some things I agree with, some things I disagree with, but he is more somebody who will call out, you know, the left on a lot of stuff. So, so Mishka, you live in New Jersey. Yeah, I don't think I've been in New Jersey. I think what is it? The only place I actually stopped in New Jersey though, I was when I went to New York and then stopped in Hoboken just to check out the skyline of New York. So, but so Bill Maher saying with all the prosecutions, they blew it at every turn. It's stormy or bust. So let's see if I think I have this video. I have this video actually queued up. So here's what he said.
I mean, the Democrats have had 4 years to put Trump on trial, and it is all just going away. They blew it at every turn. Here's what's happened this week. Georgia, that one, okay. They're going to take up Trump's argument about Fani Willis. Now, she's the prosecutor. She's having an affair with the guy she hired. I mean, it's not really relevant to the case, but they left an opening. And now that one's going to be delayed. The stolen documents one, that's never going to happen because that's a Trumpy judge down there. So it's stormy or bust.
Well, so also with the documents, he didn't mention this, but it's a Trumpy judge. But remember, the FBI came out last week and admitted that documents were, we talked about this last week, that documents were mismanaged, mishandled, and that they were tampered with. So it's really gonna be hard to get anybody to charge Trump in that case when evidence was tampered with. And here in Georgia, yeah, Fani Willis, so just know what he's talking about here. Fani Willis had the affair with the person that she hired to be the prosecutor. It seemed like more of a conflict of interest type thing where she told him to prosecute. And so conflict of interest. He was removed from the case. Lots of, impropriety there. We'll see what happens. Trump is now pushing because, I mean, it's on record that she was at the vice president's mansion like the week before the case, before she announced the grand jury for it or announced an indictment for it. So there was a whole lot of stuff going on there, a lot of impropriety, and this is like my backyard. Like I know, again, if I were to be arrested in Fulton County, which is not far from where I live, and I do hang out in Fulton County sometimes, but if I go down in there, Fanny's gonna get me. So I'm always cautious there. But they're trying to get her recused from the case, so it's going to delay the case and probably till after the election. And it's interesting. I know. So the judge in that case is actually, I believe, is running for re-election. So he's doing some campaigning himself. And so there is an event that I'm possibly going to this week that he may be at. So we'll see what happens there. But that's a little bit interesting situation as well. But here we go.
I saw what you did there.
And if you don't know, Stormy Daniels is the porn star in New York. It's the Alvin Bragg case where they are trying to say that Trump, they're not even charging him with paying the hush money. They're trying to say that they can't even say what the crime is. There was somebody that was talking about this the other day. Like they can't even actually say what crime he committed. It was JD Vance said this on on NBC yesterday. They can't even say what crime he committed. It's just that he mismanaged documents, but he paid so the Trump organization, possibly the campaign, they haven't specified, paid Trump's lawyer to pay hush money, when even Michael Cohen has said that Trump didn't even know about the hush money. He paid it out of his own pocket. He was never reimbursed for it. There's a letter that says this from like 2016 when it happened. So it's all just it's a little bit of a sham trial, and this is what even Maurer is talking about. And so Stormy Daniels was on the stand last week as a key witness, which her testimony really has no bearing on the case, because it's just there to, and now they're calling for a mistrial because it was just there to, she was just put on the stand to try to embarrass Trump, where he claims that he never had this affair, but the trial's not even about her. So and you'll see what kind of happens and why she's a bad witness here.
It just comes out. I'm not trying. If this one doesn't work, and she's a bad witness, because let me show you a little video. This is when I had Stormy on in 2018. And first I asked her why she had sex with Trump. Listen to that. And then listen to what she says after that. And then we're going to talk about the trial, because it's quite at variance of what she said to me in 2018. Why did you fuck Donald Trump?
I have no idea.
Okay, but you say it's not a Me Too case.
It is not a Me Too case. I mean, I wasn't assaulted. I wasn't attacked or raped or coerced or blackmailed. They tried to shove me in the Me Too box to further their own agenda. And first of all, I didn't want any part of that because it's not the truth, and I'm not a victim in that regard.
That's not what she's saying now. She's talking about he was bigger and blocking the way. It's all the Me Too buzzwords. She said there was a power imbalance of power for sure. My hands were shaking so hard. She said she blacked out. Blacked out? She's a porn star. I don't think sex.
But that doesn't mean she's been subjected to the likes of Donald Trump. I might black out too.
Do you really think she blacked out? I mean, a porn star is used to having sex with people she does not know. That's the job. It's kind of like Stormy Bob Stormy. Fuck. Action, and let's go.
Well, let's be clear. Rape is different than, he's kind of off base here, because rape is different than having sex for money and knowing you're getting into it. But to the main point of the video, that Stormy Daniels is now changed her story on the stand compared to what she was saying when he interviewed her in a friendly interview just a couple years ago. So which is it? She said it's not a Me Too case. So which is it? And the truth really is, from just looking at a lot of this, and I won't say the truth is, but it seems as though Stormy Daniels did go to the guy from the National Enquirer. She was trying to pitch this scandalous story in 2016 about this affair that they had in like 2004. And that was when that Michael Cohen had paid her the hush money. So that's what she was just trying to get a payday from it at that point. And now she's basically probably being told what to say, because now, this could affect the election again. She tried to affect the election the first time. Now she's trying to affect it again, because this is continuing. And so she needs to say the right things. The prosecutors, the attorneys probably said, we need you to say this, it needs to go this way. But now it seems like it was just trying to embarrass Trump. And I saw you guys say in the chat that you just want somebody that's going to to fix the economy. And I'm going to tell you, like, there was a poll that came out this weekend. We reported on it as well. That, and it was actually, no, it might have even been in this next clip that I'm going to play, but it was in the longer clip that I'm going to play, where even CNN's discussing this, like the highest profile people. So, or the voters, that is their number one concern of voters is the economy, and people see Trump like have like a 30 or 40 point lead over Trump at this point. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head. I just saw it real quick, but it was a huge lead in the handling of the economy. Most people trust Trump like 60, like well more, like a lot more than they trust Biden. And I'm going to tell you, when you have CNN admitting that these indictments are politically motivated, I think you're in trouble. CNN is going to carry the water for you when they can, but when they're saying that they think that this is politically motivated, you've lost. Now this whole clip with Fareed Zakaria, I would say go watch the entire clip. I reported, I did a full story on this for the Post Millennial yesterday as well. Go watch the full clip, because he breaks down a lot more than just the indictments. He breaks down why people are looking at Trump, and he even says, there was one point in his statement where he said, right now Donald Trump is polling higher, and people will say it's polls lie, but he even makes the point where polls tend to underestimate Donald Trump, not overestimate. And he makes the quip that I doubt there is a shy Biden voter answering these polls. So even CNN is prepping that's what it is. They're prepping their audience for a Trump victory. They're basically saying this is not looking good at all. But here's where he said about the indictments.
And the trials against him keep him in the spotlight, infuriate his base, who sees him as a martyr, and even may serve to make him the object of some sympathy among people in general who believe that his prosecutors are politically motivated. This happens to be true, in my opinion. I doubt the New York indictment would have been brought against a defendant whose name was not Donald Trump. A majority of Americans are skeptical that Trump will be able to get a fair trial, according to a CNN poll. And the trials against him keep him in the spotlight, infuriate his base, who sees him as a martyr.
So he said, I doubt the New York indictment would have been brought against a defendant whose name was not Donald Trump. If that is not that, I mean, when I heard that, that was stunning to me. I watched this full clip yesterday while I was working. That was stunning to me. Liz, you said you think you're worried about violence. You know, that's the thing. We worried about that in 2020, or we worried about that in 2016. We worried about it in 2020, and the left will say there was violence because of January 6th. But you got to remember, we're going to see the most violence right now. It seems like every election cycle, and this has happened since Occupy, and it's only gotten more. It's only gotten worse and worse. It seems like these, like the radical left takes upon, and it's obviously it's funded by so the radical left is funded by these wealthy leftists and we this is very well known. I can name them, but I don't know how YouTube's policies are with some of this stuff. But they seems like every 4 years they organize and it's I've been calling it riot season, right? So 2020 was the summer of love. George Floyd, Black Lives Matter riots, mostly taken over by white Antifa members. That's where most of the violence was committed by Antifa, communist organizations that are trying to shape the culture. And obviously we know where they're at now. Now they're moving more towards the Trantifa, but because they didn't get their trans Floyd, now it seems like the Israel, the Israel Hamas pro-Palestine encampments across the country will probably continue throughout the summer, because that is their Occupy movement. It's their BLM of 2020, and that is what we're going to see for the summer of 2024. That's just the way we have it. At the I'm gonna tell y'all, you should go to, before I kind of come off, if you want to see about voting and stuff like that. Let me see. Oh, that's trending. I'm gonna tell you to go to Free the People. Here, you can come to our site over at Free the People. We did so Sam Martin is one of our production guys. He did this great video about the most important election and how they utilize this is the most important election of our lifetime, right? They always say that, we always hear that, but it's not. They've said that since the very beginning of this country, that this is the most important election. And it's just a tool to divide and make you vote not who you believe, but it's better to vote for the lesser of two evils than it is to vote for the more extreme position. So I would definitely go watch that to see like how a lot of this fear mongering works. And I know you said you're afraid of violence, but if you're afraid of violence after the election, they're just going to they will use that fear, that instinctual fear that they've instilled in everybody to message to that violence and say, well, if Donald Trump wins, it's going to be a riot and all this stuff, and to try to get you to vote for the other side or not vote at all, and to fear. They play off of fear, and we shouldn't let fear dictate how we feel in our actions and what we vote for. And with that, I want to say thank you guys for joining this show. We are over time. We went about 10 minutes over, like we always do. I truly appreciate everybody tuning in. If you haven't already, make sure you go click that like and subscribe button below. Follow me across all social media platforms, and I will see you next time.